What is up, guys? It's your boy Nathan. We're back with another video. We have the build up of UFC 285. Hold on, let me just adjust this so don't get distracted. We have the build up of 285 and we have the return of the UFC former light heavyweight champion, the longest reigning light heavyweight champion with the most title defenses, the return of Boney, John Bones Jones. And he's gonna come back after the 3-year layoff to face French ace number 2 heavyweight contender in the world, former UFC interim champion Cyril Gane, and we're going to look through all the fights. Plus, the co-main event is headlined by Valentina Shevchenko, who's returned after a relatively long layoff for her personal standards, taking on rising Mexican star Alexa Grasso for the 125 women's flyweight title fight. We also have some great fights up and down the card. It just stacked. Beautiful fight card this week. No complaints. Stacked to the brims. The early prelims, the prelims, the main card. Fantastic fights this week. And yeah, typical Goa. Sometimes stars doesn't get up. Dude, the internet in Goa is unreal, man. What do you order dinner Friday night? Nothing. Out of nothing. It's regular home cooked food. That's it. Nothing today. Nothing at all. Finally back. All right. So let me set the stage for anyone that's not aware of what the impact of the main event of this week is. So John Bones Jones is one of the goats of MMA. He is, I believe, the youngest UFC champion. He dethroned former heavyweight champion Josh Barnett. I believe he is the youngest champion at 24 years old. He became UFC light heavyweight champion almost a decade ago, actually, over a decade ago, in fact. He took the belt from Mauricio Shogunhua, who's now retired very recently, 2 months ago. And he has just gone on an absolute rampage. Absolute rampage he's gone on. And if he didn't have outside of the UFC transgressions, he'd probably be the GOAT. But will DC interview Bones after his win? Probably, Kaushal. Probably. Apparently, he's okay with him commentating his fight, so why not? I think so, yes. So John Jones has basically had a lot of issues outside of fighting, whereas inside in the fighting, he's I believe his record is 26-1. I believe he should be 27-0, but he only has a DQ loss to Matt Hamill many years ago. In fact, I shall tell you when it was, just for proper reference. John Bones Jones lost his 10th professional fight in 2009, coming in on 14 years. No, or 13 years. 13 years and 3 months since his last loss, his only loss before he went on an absolute rampage. He would have been 27-0. 27-0 and 1 no contest, but unfortunately he has a DQ loss over there. That's on his record, which cannot be reversed. So yeah, we are talking about an all-time great. It's a bogus loss, which most people don't count by. So technically, while he is not undefeated, he is very much a fighter that has no peers since he started fighting, basically, especially since he has ascended to the light heavyweight throne. And I think, quite honestly, that John Jones is probably the one of the best to ever do it. If you take his PED transgressions aside, he's probably the best to ever do it, because in many ways he's one of the most complete fighters you'll see. He has good range fighting, good hands, good knees, good kicks. He was a JUCO national champion, junior college national champion in wrestling. He has submissions. He's won in all plethora of ways in the UFC for various title fights. And I think he is one of the most he's one of the most complete fighters, hands down, irrespective of weight class. And I think his return has sparked a very interesting thought amongst um, hardcore fans, because he has been 3 years away. He's had some outs again, like I said, real life issues. Let's put it that way. And he's coming back after 3 years. He's moving up a weight class. There's a lot of questions about that, and quite honestly, we don't know what to expect. But all you can do is, I don't know. I suppose you can't expect anything bad because we have no evidence to prove otherwise. He has come back before from two-year hiatuses before twice, and he has won in devastating fashion. So I don't think, yeah, I would say I don't think there is cause for worry at the moment, but it is going to be very interesting to see what he does at UFC 285. So let's see. But Gane's athleticism and his flexibility is different. He moves like a lightweight. Absolutely. We will get into that, Kaushal. I agree. Speaking of Cyril Gane, we're talking about the French heavyweight from La Roche Monceau. I believe that's where he fights out from, or he's born there. He's France's only UFC champion, albeit an interim champion. He's looking to be the first ever French full champion. France has very interesting talents coming out of their country at the moment. They have Manon Fiorot, who's the number one flyweight contender. They have Nasruddin Imavov, who's I think he's number 11 in the world in middleweight. So France is slowly becoming a burgeoning hub for MMA now, and he leads the charge, obviously, for contenders to be the first French champion. And I think there's a lot at stake for Cyril Gane because he's going to be in back-to-back title fights now. If he loses this, there's going to be not really sure if he's going to get another one after this. So you got to see this. So Nathan didn't pick my message. No, I saw everything. I just didn't have a time to say anything. Sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, excuse me. So we have that is the main event, which we will obviously break down even furthermore in a couple of minutes. We have it is preceded by a flyweight championship in the women's division. We have Valentina Shevchenko, the only UFC flyweight champion in the division. She's looking, I believe, for her 8th title defense. She's an absolute sniper. Submissions, ground and pound, straight head kick knockouts. Just absolute berserker of a woman. Quite frightening, quite honestly. And she's taking on rising Mexican contender who also is Mexico is having a really great surge of fighters right now as well. She's looking to be the first ever Mexican women's UFC champion in Alexa Grasso. And Alexa Grasso, when she first debuted in the UFC, there was a lot of promise. She was looking to be, one of those ones to watch fighters. She has really crisp boxing, and she trains with fellow bantamweight title challenge contender Irene Aldana, who's at 135. So they have good training partners in this Mexican camp, and they're known for their boxing. Their boxing, of course, Mexico has a big history of boxers. So my BP normal? Yes, it is. Don't expect this guy to be a 20% part. So as I was saying, yes, the Mexican fighters are coming up now. Of course, Mexico's had a long standing history of Mexican boxers that have been really good. Juan Manuel Marquez, I believe he's Mexican. Then we have, of course, the hero of Mexico, everyone's beloved son, Saul Canelo Alvarez, obviously, can't forget him. Current, probably the best, in many ways, the best pound for pound fighter, the most daring, the most brave boxer I've seen in terms of putting a status on the line to achieve greatness. You can't forget about Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., I think Mexico's favorite son, especially when it comes to boxing. They're coming from a long lineage of people who have fought martial arts of some sort, combat sports. And I think this gym in Mexico in which she trains in is providing a lot of high level training for her, which she doesn't have to move to the States for. So it's going to be interesting to see what she can do out of it. This is the first shot at the UFC title, taking on probably the best women right now, hands down, number one pound for pound woman for sure. And it's going to be a tough uphill battle, and we'll also look into that for sure. The assassin baby. That's right. Since we are talking about Mexico, she's looking to be the third Mexican champion. The first one, Mexican born champion, I should say. The first one is, of course, as Kaushal said, the assassin baby, Brandon Moreno. And recently, last month, like maybe a couple of weeks back, we have had the UFC's second, albeit an interim featherweight champion. We have Yair El Pantera Rodriguez. So she's looking to be the third Mexican champion and Mexican-born champion, first women's Mexican champion. And there's a lot of history on the line for both contenders. I think Valentina Shevchenko, with a defense in a title, pushes forward into a GOAT status of her own, irrespective of the Amanda Nunes losses, which is 2 out of 3 losses. And Alexa Grasso obviously looking to make history with regards to being from Mexico and Mexico's only champion. So there's that as well. So I think, and there are some fun fights we will look into, and we will get into that. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the main card. But before we, hey Lavanya, what's up? What's up? Later, but me too, dude. Me too. Had some net issues. Me too. There's no issues, dude. Just started. So what we're gonna do is, right, we're gonna we're gonna go up, work up from the card, if you guys don't mind, and we're gonna end it off with the main event. Mostly because I want to talk about some of the fights, not too much, but I want to talk about some of the fights and the build up of the card itself, to build some excitement towards the main card. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with one of the fights that caught my eye, which is of course wait, sorry, that's not it. Which is I will share it on screen. Yeah, guys, just give me a second. I will put it up on screen as well. Here we go. So this is what it's going to be. I'll just share the screen here. So Zozo se chila ke sabko scheme bata. Just clarifying, bro. There we go. So we share this up. We put this here. There we go. How do you like that? Wait, hold on. I'll put this down here. Yeah. Is that a problem or is this okay? Wait, hold on a minute. No, I don't like this. I like this better. So let's just do this for now. So we got in the early prelim card, we got Ian the Future Gary, who's obviously from Ireland, not from the SBG camp. He is training out of Sanford MMA, which is the old Black Zillions, or what was it called after that? It was called something else after that. It's basically led by Henry Hooft down in South Florida, home to many world-class fighters. And yeah, Ian Gary is obviously one of them. He's a very big prospect at the moment. He is 10-0, as you can see there. He's taking on Chinese fighter Song the Assassin Kenan, and as you can see there, here we go. So Song Kenan is 25 fights, as you can see, to Ian Gary's perfect record of 10-0. As you can see there, he has an average fight time of 11 minutes, almost 12 minutes. He almost goes, he goes late into the rounds, and Song Kenan normally doesn't go past 1.5 rounds, which is good. That's the average fight time. It's going to be basically there's a very good chance of there being a finish. In other words, Ian Gary obviously has the height advantage, the reach advantage, obviously, and as you can see that he's the much younger fighter. He's only 25 years old. Song Kenan's going to be 30 next week, actually. 33 next week. So a lot of age, as you can see, a big age gap there, big age, height, and reach gap there. Hey, Doreen, hey, hi, everyone. It's time Carlo out. Oh, good lord. Here we go. Ravi playing perfect Haram ball. So as you can see here, guys, we have striking significant strikes. He lands 6 significant strikes per round, per minute, sorry, which is a crazy amount. And as you can see, Song Kenan hits 4.3 strikes a minute, which is also pretty good, actually. The striking accuracy, as you can see, he's the most striking accurate fighter, Ian Gary. He absorbs the same amount of punches as Song Kenan, so that could be a little bit of an issue. But he is more accurate and he has a better output. So you're looking to have a much higher pace from Ian Gary in general. His defense, as you can see, is actually worse than Song Kenan because they're both kind of action-packed fighters. So you can see the striking defense is a lot lower than normal, for at least for a certain level of fighter. That's probably because of their fight style as opposed to as opposed to their abilities and or their potential, I should say. And we got a takedown average of 0.43 and 0. So Song Kenan basically doesn't do grappling. As you can see there, his takedown defense is 50%, Ian Gary's is 75, his takedown accuracy is 50. As you can see, they both don't really have any average submission attempts on average, which is not necessarily great. But as you can see, Song Kenan is 2-3 in the UFC, and as you can see, Ian Gary has won 3 fights in a row. So Ian Gary obviously has the momentum here. He's looking for the slow build up in this regard. We got that over there, and so what does this basically tell you guys? What this basically tells you is, and throat chokes, we'll see out. Okay, what this tells you basically is, I'm getting there, Kaushal. I'm getting there. If you don't mind, guys, tell me who do you think is going to win between Ian Gary and Song Kenan. While in the meantime, I will just see something quickly. So Ian Gary has 6 finishes, 4 decision wins. Out of his 4 decisions, 2 of them have been in the UFC. So as you can see, the level of competition has definitely forced Ian Gary to not have what we would call fodder fights or build-up fights for the or padded fights for the record. And Song Kenan obviously has fought 5 times in the UFC, and his strongest opponent has been Max Payne Griffin. I'm sure you guys know who that is. He also has who he's lost to by KO. He's also lost to Alex Morono, who's pretty decent at welterweight as well by decision. So out of Song Kenan's 6 losses, he has been knocked out 3 times, which is not good. He's also lost to lightweight contender Brad Riddell by KO, so that's not a good sign either. What I think is going to happen is Ian Gary is going to come out hard and fast. He's going to pepper him up with straight lefts. I think he's going to work the body. I think he might mix in a takedown there if the takedown's available. Song Kenan has no takedowns in 5 UFC fights. He is prone to getting knocked out. He is an action-packed fighter. I'm looking in the way where he kind of charges forward and Ian Gary catches him with a straight left, or maybe a shovel hook when he comes in charging, and Ian Gary might take him down and submit him. There's a good chance he might drop him and then submit him. And I'm going to pick Ian Gary to win by KO TKO in the second round. I think he's going to be too sharp, too crisp, and Song Kenan has a pretty reckless style of fighting. His average fight time in 5 UFC fights is only 7 minutes, which means he goes there to kill. And I think that's what's going to happen. And as Kaushal is saying, Ian Gary for sure. Yeah, I think Ian Gary is going to win it as well. And so that is one of the fights I really did want to talk about. Then we have, oh yes, this is the fight I definitely want to talk about. I wanted to talk about the middleweight fixture of Derek Brunson and Dricus du Plessis from South Africa. So, hold on a minute. I'll share the screen again. Guys, do like the video, do share it to any UFC enthusiasts you have. It would help a lot. It would help a lot. So as you can see, we got Derek the One Brunson. Didn't know he had a nickname until just now. And we have Dricus Duplessis, who still Knox is his nickname. He's from South Africa, and as you can see, he is a former KSW middleweight champion, I believe, which is believe it's a Polish promotion, and he's taking on Derek Brunson, who's we'll get into him in just a few minutes. As you can see by the record here, we got 23 and 8 Brunson, 18 and 2 Dricus Duplessis. Believe he's still perfect. Still very much he's still very much perfect in terms of in terms of his UFC record. If I'm not mistaken, I'll just check that again. Yes, he has. He is a perfect. He is perfect in 1, 2, 3, 4 fights. He's on a 6-fight winning streak, 5 finishes, 1 decision, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions. So he's a very well-rounded fighter. Out of his 18 wins, he has 7 knockouts, and 10 submissions. He's only been to decision 1 time, and that was a victory for him. He has a knockout and submission loss. He has a knockout loss to Roberto Soldic, who's now fighting for one. He, I believe, was a double champion KSW himself. He also has a win. He's 1-1 with Roberto Soldic. And he fought some guy named Gareth McClellan. I don't know if you guys know this, but Gareth McClellan, I believe, was one of the first South African fighters to make it to the UFC way, way back in the day. Believe he is an EFC middleweight champion. And it's saying here they fought for the EFC middleweight champion, which McClellan won that game fight. That was a long time ago. That was only 5 fights into his career. As you can see, he is 20 fights into his career right now. And they're both 6-1. Brunson has the reach advantage, but it doesn't really matter because Brunson likes to wrestle. As you can see, Dricus Duplessis is very comfortable fighting in southpaw or orthodox. That's why his stance is called switch. As you can see, Derek Brunson is 10 years and 10 days older than Dricus Duplessis. So Dricus Duplessis obviously has less miles on him, more wins on him, and much younger than him. As you can see, he does have a 1-inch reach disadvantage, but I don't think that's going to factor in much in this style. So we have strikes landed per minute. We have 3.5 by Derek Brunson because he does like to wrestle. He likes taking to the ground. He has a plethora of knockout losses, so he doesn't like taking that chance, especially in his most recent run of UFC fights. As you can see, Dricus Duplessis, action-packed fighter, 6.6 significant strikes per minute, striking accuracy of 53%, and as you can see, 47 by Brunson. But I believe a lot of that will be ground strikes as well because he spends a lot of time on the ground. So that might not be the most telling stat out for Derek Brunson. As you can see, their strikes absorbed per minute, again, due to Derek Brunson's offensive wrestling style. It's 2.84, which is pretty good. And Dricus Duplessis, because he's action-packed, likes to keep it standing, 3.73, which is not a good number. It's too high. But yes. And as you can see, the striking defense, again, a lot to do with the wrestling of Derek Brunson, 52%. But Dricus Duplessis is actually more impressive because he wrestles a lot less and he has the same amount of striking defense. And here, this is going to be quite telling, as you can see. Takedown averages per 15 minutes, 3.23 and 3.18. So Dricus Duplessis is not a slouch on the ground. He just doesn't like to go there as much, as you can see there. Takedown accuracy is actually more accurate for Dricus Duplessis. I think he's more of a very tactical takedown artist, whereas Derek Brunson kind of shoots a lot, especially when he is getting boxed up on the feet. And he's more desperate to go for the takedown when it's not working in his way on the feet. That would explain why he has a lower takedown accuracy. He probably attempts it more in general, but yes. Because that is just an average per 15 minutes. So, it varies, per fight. Takedown defense, however, Derek Brunson at 89% and 50% only for Dricus Duplessis. And he's going to have to put on his wrestling boots. There is no doubt. And yes, as you can see there, when Dricus Duplessis takes it to the ground, he is 0.16 submission attempts because Derek Brunson tends to hold the fighter down. He tends to ground and pound. He tries to wear the fighter down before he even attempts a submission, or he's just very comfortable on top. Whereas Dricus du Plessis doesn't really want to be down there. He's much more active in guard, and he's looking to take submissions if he's back or if he's on top control. So as you can see there, Dricus du Plessis, 4 wins. His most recent coming from Darren Till, who is no longer with the UFC anymore. And as you can see, he has good wins against Trevin Giles, Brad Tavares, and I think that is Perez is the Mexican fighter. I forgot his name now, but yes. And as you can see, Derek Brunson was on a 4-fight win streak before his recent knockout loss to Jared Cannonier. And in most of these wins, he used his wrestling. His Still win, he used wrestling. Holland win, he used a lot of wrestling. Shabazian, he absolutely outclassed Edward Shabazian and Ian Heinisch as well, who couldn't do anything. And they have been very, very prone to wrestling attacks, and he took absolute advantage of that. When he met Cannonier with the explosivity and the power, while it started out very promising for Derek Brunson, it eventually turned ugly and it did fall into a knockout loss for him on the column. He is looking to rebuild. Doesn't have much to rebuild though, because he is quite high on the rankings. Because du Plessis, I believe, is number 10 in the middleweight rankings, and Derek Brunson, I believe, is 6. I want to say 6, but I will just check it for you guys. He is 5th in the UFC middleweight division. So you can imagine um, that Derek Brunson's going to look okay, guys. Whoever's watching, whoever wants to make a pick now before I make mine, so I don't look at yours. Obviously, I think Derek Brunson is going to attempt to wrestle heavily to get back on track because he has a lot to lose in this fight. Fifth rank up against 10th. He's going to slip back a lot more than one place if he loses to Dricus du Plessis, especially depending on how he loses to him. I also think Derek Brunson's 38 years old. He is not young anymore. He's going to be 39. No, wait, sorry, he is 39 years old because du Plessis is 29 years old, and there is an absolute difference. No matter how good you look, how physical you are, whatever style of fight you possess, it will 100% affect your ability as you get older. And I think Derek Brunson is possibly on the downslide. Now, listen, man, you saw the numbers there. Derek Brunson can hold him down for 15 minutes, easy peasy, light work, much like he did in a lot of that four-fight win streak before Cannonier. But I really think Dricus du Plessis is going to chase after him. And I think Dricus du Plessis is going to knock him out with punches. And I think it's going to be a second round KO with punches, Dricus du Plessis. And I think it could be first round, but I'm going to give Derek Brunson the possibility of starting really strong in the first round, much like he does in general. So yes, as Kaushal is saying, I'm going for the South African. He also picks Dricus du Plessis. We will find out eventually. And then we'll just quickly do Cody Garbrandt because Kaushal's here. He wants to know my take on it, so I will give him my take. I wasn't going to skip it because just no particular reason. I was just going to skip it really. But since we are here, we shall not skip it. As you can see, 12-5, Cody No Love Garbrandt, the former UFC bantamweight champion, taking on Trevin 5-star Jones. You can see the records there. They're not the best of records anymore. But before we get into it, I will show you why the record's not good anymore. As you can see here, Trevin Jones is 13-9-1 no contest. And if you see his recent fights, he is 1 no contest, 3 losses and a win. So he was 12-6-1 no contest. Sorry, he was just 12-6 before these last 5 fights. So he was somewhat decent. Not going to be top level ever, but decent prospect for sure. And as you can see, 1-4 in his last 5, which would make it Cody Garbrandt being 11-1 at one point of time. He's absolutely had the worst slide as you can imagine. He does have a win in between these 4 losses, sandwiched exactly in between these 4 losses. As you can see, his average fight time is 9.49. Trevin Jones tends to go the distance way more just by fight average. You can tell that. Garbrandt has the 1-inch reach advantage, but he has a 5-inch reach disadvantage, which might not be in his favor. Cody Garbrandt is one-ish year older than one-ish, yeah, about 11 months older than Trevin Jones. And years where we're gonna pick things out. Duplessis is a cricketer too. Yes, that's Francois Duplessis. Yes. Lavanya, who are you picking if you have made any picks yet for the Duplessis fight and for the which fight did I do before? Good lord, I've forgotten already. No, haven't forgotten already. What did I do? Ian Gary fight. Yes, Ian Gary fight. So strikes landed per minute. Now, Cody Garbrandt is from Uricksville, Ohio, and Ohio is a very important wrestling state in America. He was a wrestler for a lot of his life. I believe he placed in states as well as a young man. Golden Gloves boxer. Golden Gloves is the tournament most people enter in the amateur levels to rise up the ranks. Then it becomes a statewide tournament and such and such. So he has credential boxing. He has a lot of knockouts, a lot of explosive power back in the day, a lot of slick movements, slides, lovely footwork, but mostly the feints. The feints were what made him win that Dominic Cruz fight because he was just slipping and sliding Dominic Cruz, and Dominic Cruz movement wasn't doing enough for him when he captured the belt many years ago. As you can see, his striking accuracy is 38%, but that's because he throws a lot, a lot. Here comes the problem now. Trevin Jones and Cody Garbrandt, they have a minus, they have a negative differential. And what does the negative differential mean? A landed to absorbed negative differential. So what you'd like ideally is more strikes landed than absorbed, which means your defense is better. The defense is helps helps your output, helps your offense, instead of you're an attacking fighter who just eats a lot of punches and kicks and strikes. So as you can see, the numbers are quite alarming. In fact, Trevin Jones numbers are very alarming on this stats here because it's more than double leads, which is not good. Striking defense, however, Cody Garbrandt is 60%. Yes, the record may not show it at the moment, um, but he does have that pedigree. And if you see his four losses are to some of the best fighters in the division. So you can imagine, you have to take that into consideration going into this fight. Trevin Jones has not fought nowhere near the quality of competition. He's fought Raoni Barcelos, who's a good fighter. He has fought one of the Basharat brothers, which is a good fighter. I think this no contest was against Timur Valiev, but I'm not sure. Bautista, Goodwin, Karakhmanov, you know how it goes there. As you can see, knocked out by Dillashaw, knocked out by Munoz, knocked out Asensio, went to decision with Rob Font, dropped down the flyweight to fight Kai Kara France. It was a failed experiment. Tried to revive his career by dropping down a weight class. He's moving back up a weight class again, back to his original weight class. What this doesn't show you here is one more loss before the Dillashaw loss, which was the first fight in which he lost his belt. This was the rematch. So he has been 1-5. He was 11-0. He started his career 11-0, guys. See this number here. He's won one fight in his last five. So Dillashaw champion, Pedro Munoz top contender, Rob Font top 5 contender, Kai Kara France number 3 flyweight in the world, fought for an interim champion one fight ago. So as you can see, he has fought the most talented fighters there are in the division, and he has fallen short. Trevin Jones, however, you can't say necessarily the same thing about him. So Lavanya saying, I don't know these fighters, but I'll pick the African fighter too. Duplessis will lose. Arnav saying, I have a soft corner for Cody. Yes, so we shall get into it. And here's my prediction. I think based on these stats, just these stats, although these stats are just a small handful of stats that exist overall, I think just with Cody Garbrandt's striking defense, if he comes back rejuvenated, I don't know how his flyweight cut went. If he comes back rejuvenated, stronger, much better headspace, but he's not willing to go for broke completely, because I think his career really does matter on this fight. He's 1-5 in his last 6. That is not good. And I think he has to be really careful because Trevin Jones is not the most active fighter and he absorbs a lot of punishment, but it only takes one punch to knock you out. So he needs to be careful regardless. And I think Cody No Love Garbrandt is going to get the win. I have a feeling it's going to be a decision, but I'm going to back Cody just based on the quality of competitor he's fought recently. And I'm going to say Cody Garbrandt's going to win by KO in. Actually, I don't think it's going to be KO. I think he's going to get dropped and then he's going to have to follow up with punches. I think it's going to be a TKO second round Cody Garbrandt. Jay, nobody is won. I'm just doing a preview of UFC 285. The watch alongs on Sunday. Feel free to join if you like UFC. And yes, all right. So those are my picks for the prelims. We shall move on to the main card. And now this is where it's going to get fun for me, at least. Here we go. Oh yes, this is the fight I've been looking forward to talking about. So here we go. Buckle up, boys, because it's about to get real exciting now. So we got UFC debut of one of the top 10, maybe best amateur wrestlers, collegiate amateur wrestlers that have ever existed. Well, lots of people say that. I obviously don't watch NCAA wrestling, but a lot of people have said this. He's probably one of the top 10 all time. And we have Bo Nichols' UFC debut in the middleweight division, taking on Jamie Pickett, the Night Wolf. This fight was supposed to happen, I believe. I think it was supposed to happen. I want to say January, but it was supposed to happen either January, February. It got pushed back to next this week in a couple of days. So Bo Nickel is a three-time NCAA champion. So if for people who do not know what that is NCAA wrestling has 4 years. You have 4 college years, and he won three years. He won the title 3 years out of 4 years as a amateur wrestler. I believe he went for the Olympic trials and the world championships and all that. He is one of the most decorated wrestlers there is probably in all of MMA. He's probably one of the most decorated wrestlers, period. But he is one of the most decorated wrestlers for sure in MMA. He's looking to take on Jamie Pickett. As you can see just by the records itself, Bo Nickel has fought all 3 of his fights last year. He turned pro last year. He's 3-0. I believe I want to say he was 1-0. He had 2 contender fights, and now he's 3-0. Jamie Pickett, 13-8. As you can see, average fight time of Bo Nickel, guys. Average fight time of Bo Nickel. Granted, the quality of competition is definitely questionable. 1 minute. 1 minute is the average fight time in three fights. Don't know what else to say about that. You have to give it a little bit of a sigh. 21 fights for Jamie Pickett. His average fight time is 9.5 minutes. 6'1", 6'2". He has 1 inch reach advantage. He has 4 inches reach advantage if he's looking to capitalize on the striking. As you can see, Bo Nickel is only 27 years young, only 3 fights in, very, very fresh faced for UFC. And as you can see that Jamie Pickett's going to be 35 in August. So there is another big age gap. As you can see here, 3.68 strikes landed per minute. And that is very impressive for someone who just wrestles, guys. Keep in mind, he just wrestles. He was always a wrestler up until recently. 3.68 strikes. Strike absorbed per minute, 0. Guys, 0 strikes landed on Bo Nickel so far. Striking accuracy of 70%. 3.6 significant strikes, 70% is the striking accuracy. 3.25 is for Jamie Pickett and only 50% accuracy. That's after 7 times the fights he has. It's going to be really tough, guys. 4.36, again, another negative differential fighter in the game here. And it's going to be difficult, man. As you can see, that stat, while might sound really crazy, is 100% striking defense is very true. 47 of Jamie Pickett. Of course, Jamie Pickett has way more fights, so you have to take that on a little bit with a pinch of salt. And as you can see, this is ridiculous. This number is something I don't even know if it's right or not, but this is a little ridiculous, guys. As you can see here, 23.68 takedowns per 15 minutes. 23.68 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's taking down a fighter on average of more than one takedown a minute, which is absolutely crazy. Unheard of. And yet, it's exactly that. It's that many takedowns for 25 minutes, which is absolutely insane. You can see Jamie Pickett averages 1.39 takedowns, which obviously doesn't sound as impressive. But then again, guys, you have to remember he has fought way more fights. Takedown accuracy, again, 100% by Bo Nickel. I don't think that shocks anyone at this point of time. His average submissions are, I think this is very incorrect. Yeah. I feel like the decimal point should be on the other side. But apparently he averages 23.7. I think this is wrong, guys. I think it's 2.37 submissions. But either which way, it's going to be, as you can see, the odds are not stacked in Jamie Pickett's favor here. As you can see, a Beard and Borrego 2 wins in the Dana White Contender Series. This will be his proper UFC debut coming in. As you can see, a win over Laureano Staropoli, who's, I believe, Argentinian. Holmes lost to Chris Dawkins, whose brother's also a UFC heavyweight, and Tululin. So as you can see, 2-3 in his last 5, which would make him 11-6 when he came here into the UFC. As you can see, Bo Nickel is the southpaw, so they'll have opposite stances. Easier to take down someone, And I think at the same time, Bo Nickel's going to win this fight. I go 1 round submission, rear naked choke, Bo Nickel. Think he's going to absolutely steamroll him. Do give me your thoughts on who you think is going to win this, guys. I would love to know. Just going to write this down here. If anyone has a pick, I would love to know. Kaushal, anyone has a pick on this, please let me know. Just writing this down on my notes. Keeping tabs. Bo Nickel. Kaushal's going Bo Nickel as well. All right, so that's my pick. First round submission by Bo Nickel. Let's carry on, guys. I do not want to waste your time. I'm just looking forward to the watch along. Join me for the watch along as well. I might do another preview tomorrow with Sadiq Bhai if he is free. He was very busy. I was supposed to do it with him, but work comes first, guys. So then we have a second fight. We have Mateusz Gamrot from Poland taking on Jalen the Tarantula Turner, former training partner Michael Bisping out of California. Mateusz Gamrot obviously fighting out of ATT now. I believe he also is a former KSW double champion, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it is lightweight and featherweight. Mateusz Gamrot was a double champion in KSW. As you can see, absolute stellar record of Mateusz Gamrot there, 21-2-0 with 1 no contest. 21 out of 24 fights wins. He is coming off of a loss against the absolutely fantastic, high-paced fight in Abu Dhabi, where he took on Benil Dariush, who will be fighting Charles Oliveira for #1 contendership. I believe it's in May. So you can see the quality of opponent he has fought. He is number 7 in the world. He's taking on Jalen Turner, 13-5, number 10th in the world. As you can see, their average fight time much more miles on Mateusz Gamrot. Although he doesn't have that many fights more than Jalen Turner. 5'10" to 6'3". Jalen Turner is absolutely massive for the weight class. Absolutely massive for the weight class. As you can tell by the dimensions over there, he has a 5-inch height advantage, and he has a 7-inch reach advantage, guys. 7-inch reach advantage. As you can see, he's also the younger fighter. Mateusz Gamrot is going to be 33 in December. Jalen Turner is only a sprightly 27 at the moment. So as you can see, strikes landed per minute 3.26 to 6.48. Jalen Turner, the more active striker. You can see 49 and 47% striking accuracy, very similar. 3.34 strikes absorbed by Mateusz Gamrot. Slightly negative differential, very fractional, but it is a negative differential. Jalen Turner obviously using his limbs to great advantage with a 4.31 strikes absorbed per minute. Have you just watched what happened in ISL? No, Arnab, I have nothing on right now. You'll have to let me know. Kaushal, do tell me your pick while I'm going through as well. Would love to know who you think is going to win. Striking defense of Mateusz Gamrot, 61 to 44%. Jalen Turner, as you can see here, and this is why this is the tail of the tape, gentlemen. 4.66 takedowns per 15 minutes to 1.1 for Jalen Turner. Takedown accuracy 31% to 80% Jalen Turner, although Jalen Turner obviously makes significantly less attempts to take down his opponents. Takedown defense, however, 90% by Mateusz Gamrot and 77% by Jalen Turner. He does use his limbs to keep the fight standing. Credit to Jalen Turner over there. 0.2 submissions average per 15 minutes and 2.0 submissions back. So what does this tell you guys? This tells you that Mateusz Gamrot, with a combination of both these stats, it tells you one thing very simply. Mateusz Gamrot likes to utilize his wrestling and his high pressure game against the cage, wear you down, get you on the ground, pass position. Hey Nitesh, good evening. Likes to pass position. It's position before submission for him, which is a point style of grappling, because he is a wrestler based, as you can tell, with 0.2 submissions per 15 minutes. He's a grappling based fighter, not a submission based fighter. Jalen Turner, however, he does attempt two submissions average per 15 minutes. I just want to take some other stats here before I make this comment. But Mateusz Gamrot, as you could even see in the Benil Dariush fights, he uses his forward pressure. He wants to work against the cage. He wants to wear you down, take you down, hold you there, just wear you out, wear you out, wear you out until he gets a submission. He has 7 knockouts, 5 submissions, and 14 decisions. As you can see, Mateusz Gamrot likes to wear on you and happily take you to a decision. Cruise control. He is an ADCC gold medalist in 2014 and 2019. And he also has a silver and bronze in 2018 and 2015, respectively. So that is Nogi submission, guys. ADCC is Nogi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's very well versed in grappling, one way or the other. His only 2 losses are both by decision, one by Benil Dariush and one by Guram Kutateladze, who I believe now is retired as well. He was 17-0 before coming to the UFC, 17-0-1, and he finally lost in his UFC debut. Won 4 fights straight, 3 finishes, 1 decision, and then fought Benil Dariush, who took him to a decision. I thought it was a very close fight personally, and I think that's the tail of the tape there in terms of Gamrot, because Gamrot loves to use his forward pressure. He wants to wear you down. He wants to grind you out and maybe pull off a submission win. Not necessarily, but he's looking to apply that forward pressure, wear you down, high pace, high intensity, cutting angles, getting to your body quickly, taking you down. And it's going to be very beneficial to him doing this in this fight, because Jalen Turner is 5 inches higher than him, which means Jalen Turner has to get lower when Mateusz Gamrot shoots for that power double, which he will shoot for, especially as Jalen Turner is backing up against the cage if that scenario presents itself. And Jalen Turner is going to have to use his whizzers. He's going to have to use his underhook, because if he lets Mateusz Gamrot pick him up, Jalen Turner, and I'm going to explain why I'm saying all this now. Jalen Turner is susceptible to wrestlers, and I'll explain why. So Jalen Turner is, I believe he is 6-2 in the UFC. Hold on. No, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's 8-2 in the UFC. No, sorry, he's 6-2 in the UFC, and both his fights that he has lost, he lost on debut. The fight he lost on debut was a short notice fight at welterweight, where he took on ranked welterweight contender Vincente Luque. Then he beats Callum Potter by TKO. Then he loses to Matt Steamroller Frevola. Now, why this is important, guys, is Matt Frevola is a wrestling-based fighter. So you can see that it's going to be a problem for him always, because after fighting Matt Frevola, he fought Josh Kulibau, who just came off a win in Australia, fantastic win, strikes. He fought Brock Weaver, who was a striker. He fought Uros Medic, who I believe was a striker as well. He fought Jamie Malaki, who's come off a fantastic win again in Australia, along with Josh Kulibau. And he obviously stunned Brand Riddell and finished him off in 45 seconds with a guillotine choke. So Jalen Turner is 9 knockouts and 4 submissions in his 13 wins. and he's lost 3 fights by knockout and 2 by decision, and both those decision, sorry, 3 by knockout, 2 by decision. Both those decision losses were by fighters who like to wrestle. Guy with sun tattoo is just going to win his rigged. Okay, Anupam. So I predict that Jalen Turner is going to reverse, is going to catch Mateusz Gamrot on a takedown. He's going to use his length. He's going to pick him apart. He's going to move. He's going to cut angles. He's going to prevent the shot from Mateusz Gamrot. And I think he's going to get maybe a second round TKO. But don't be surprised if Mateusz Gamrot absolutely takes him off. Because if Mateusz Gamrot gets a hold of him, he only needs 3 takedowns in 3 rounds. That's it. Because Jalen Turner definitely struggles with wrestling. He could have improved from the Matt Frivola fight. We haven't seen enough to prove that because he's fought a bunch of strikers since he's lost to Matt Frivola in his 5-fight win streak. So that's to be determined. This is probably one of the high charge wrestlers he's going to fight. It's going to be a great telling sign of what his future potential is going to be. I think Jalen Turner cuts angles, uses his length, keeps Mateusz Gamrot behind his jab, and I think he finishes him in the second round. So we got Jalen Turner, second round finish. Kaushal is saying Mateusz Gamrot. He's not told. Kaushal, how do you think Mateusz Gamrot's going to win? I would love to know. If you have any picks, I know you picked him as a winner. That's absolutely fine. If you have any idea how he's going to win, decision, submission, if you have a pick, I'd love to know. No issues if you don't want to say. Just curious. And then we have, here we go. Oh, you know what? We go from the best. We go from the best overall prospect in the UFC in Bo Nickel to probably the most under the radar top contender in any division. We have Shavkat Rakhmonov from Kazakhstan taking on Jeff Hands of Steel Neal. And gut feeling, that's fine. Do you, okay, gut feeling, Kaushal Singh. Lavanya saying Gamrot by submission, like it. He normally is a pressure fighter, but that's a good shout. Jalen Turner is definitely susceptible to wrestling. We got Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Jeff of Hands of Steel Neal. Boy, I'm going to enjoy this one. And I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. We have Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's probably, after Khamzat Chimaev, the most talked about welterweight that is about to make his run into the championship, probably of any division. I want to see Khamzat Chimaev and Shavkat Rakhmonov fight. Now, Khamzat Chimaev may go up to middleweight and stay at middleweight, but I want to see that fight. I want to see Shavkat Rakhmonov take on Khamzat Chimaev. That's my number one fight I want to see. That has nothing to do with the title, unless they meet for a title fight. So we got Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is Kazakhstani, but born in Uzbekistan. Excuse me. And so Shavkat Rakhmonov is currently fighting out of Killcliff FC. Oh, thank you. Killcliff FC. It is not Sanford MMA. Apologies for the Ian Gary reference. It's called Killcliff MMA now, headed by Henry Hooft, former Black Zillions coach. And that's where Shavkat Rakhmonov is also going to be fighting from. He has a Master of Sport in Combat Sambo and a Master of Sport in MMA, which is the Russian equivalent of, I'm not quite sure what it is, but like it's like a excellency kind of, it's like a master's degree in sports, but specific sports, I suppose. It's a Russian thing. I don't think any other country does that actually. And the funny thing about Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's 16-0, 8 KOs, 8 submissions. 16-0, guys. 16 finishes by the Kazakh. 16 finishes. He submitted Neil Magny with a few seconds left in the second round. Neil Magny. Guillotine choke. He has fought 4 times in the UFC. He tapped out Alex Oliveira, guillotine. Tapped out Michel Prazeres, rear naked choke. Knocked out Carlston Harris with a spinning hook kick and punches. and he laid Neil Magny to rest. Zippity quick, I might add. He's coming off of back-to-back performances of the night. He is absolutely the best blue chip prospect there is in MMA right now. I think definitely in the welterweight division. I would say overall prospect, overall talked about prospect would be, I would say Bo Nickel is the most talked about prospect, but I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is that blue chipper that everyone, he's going under the radar. But believe me, when he puts hands on hands of steel, people are going to find out how quick, how good he really is. And I think he's going to get an absolutely big fight when he comes on in the next fight, his next fight after this. Because I think I'm going to go through the stats, but I think you guys already know who I'm going to pick. But just for reference sake, Jeff Neal, sorry, is seventh in the welterweight division. Shavkat Rakhmonov is 10th. Jeff Neal is, I keep calling him Steel. Jeff Neal is 15 and 4. He's only been knocked out once, submitted once, and he's had 2 decision losses. Both those decision losses have been in the UFC. He has been finished outside of the UFC. Ever since he joined the UFC, he's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fight win streak, then 2 losses. He's been 8 and 2 in the UFC. Decision losses to Neil Magny and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Both stand-up fighters in different ways. Neil Magny, of course, as you know, as I just said, Shavkat Rakhmonov made quick work of him in 2 rounds. And they have a common opponent. And after that, he beat Santiago Ponzinibbio on a split decision. That was a close call, guys. I will admit that was a close fight for Shavkat. Then he absolutely takes Vincente Luque to the wood chipper, finishes him off in mid third round with KO. Got a performance of the night there by Jeff Neal, and I think Jeff Neal's a very action-packed fighter. He has 9 knockouts and 2 submissions and 4 decisions. Another action-packed fighter, as you can see there. 15 and 4, 16 and 0. Average fight time, Jeff Neal goes late because he wants to stand and bang, and he has fought a bunch of tough fighters as well. Shavkat Rakhmonov, obviously 6.5 minutes average fight time. He has the striking advantage. Sorry, he has the reach advantage. He's the much younger fighter, and as you can see, 5.27 strikes landed per minute. Very aggressive is Jeff Neal. Very composed is what I would say Shavkat Rakhmonov is. Striking accuracy around the same 51, 53. Strike absorbed. Now, this is what, again, guys, slightest of negative differentials. 5.27 landed, 5.28 absorbed. So it's even. Whereas Shavkat Rakhmonov, 1.39 absorbed strikes. He likes to take it down. He likes to mix it up. Very elusive, great movement on him. Very complete fighter. You can see striking defense, Jeff Neal 60%, Shavkat Rakhmonov 55%. I'm sure that has something to do with lots of factors, but it is still good averages overall. Here we go. 0.6 takedowns per 15 minutes. Jeff Neal, as you know, 2 submission wins, doesn't really spend any time on the ground, really. Even his 2 out of his 4 losses have been by decision. Shavkat Rakhmonov, there you go, 2.5, 2.31 takedowns per 15. Probably doesn't need to in most fights. 50% takedown accuracy to 44. Takedown defense 85 to 100. Not been taken down yet. I don't think Jeff Neal will be the first one to do so. 1.7 submissions per 15 minutes. Shavkat Rakhmonov, as I said, half of his wins are by submission. As you can see here, Jeff Neal 3 and 2 in his last 5. 4 fights in the UFC, as you can see, as the Oliveira finish, 4 finishes. Oliveira guillotine, Prazeres rear naked, Carlson Harris spinning hook kick, and Neil Magny another guillotine. And that's what I think it's going to be, guys. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is going to light up Jeff Neal. I think he's going to wobble him. Jeff Neal will charge forward because he is very, very durable. That the fact that he went, I believe it was a main event, he went 5 rounds with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He is quite a durable fighter, but I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is going to be too explosive, too tricky. I think Rakhmonov knocks him down and maybe submits him on the ground. I'm going to say Shavkat Rakhmonov, 3rd round rear naked choke. I think it's going to be pretty even in the 1st round, but I think he is going to get the tap out eventually. I think it's going to be rear naked. think Jeff Neal is one of those guys that won't get caught with the guillotine because he's probably not going to shoot for one. But Shafkat might get his back and tap him out. And Lavanya Singh, what's the ideal UFC fighter age of his prime? It depends on the weight class mostly, Lavanya, but I would say between 23 and 25 and 30, I would say. It depends on the weight class, though. 30 and below, well, heavyweights, all the champions, all the UFC champions in heavyweight have been above 30. Most of the light heavyweight champions have been above 30 as well. Some of the middleweight ones too. So not necessarily 30 below, but it all depends on the mileage you've had personally in your run to the title. Shafkat for the win because you cannot go wrong about these Russian belt fighters. Fair enough. There we go. So that's my pick. Shafkat Rakhmonov, third round, RNC, maybe second round, but I'm going to go third. I think Jeff Neal will put up a strong fight and, well, at least a competitive fight against him. And I think but I still feel that it will be submission win for him nonetheless. Nonetheless. Just give me a second, guys. Just saving my picks so I remember. That's Leo. What's up, That's Leo? What's up? What's up? And so now we have the co-main event of the evening. We have UFC's only flyweight women's world champion, Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko, and we are taking on Mexico's best flyweight prospect in Alexa Grasso. And excuse me, guys, about that. Sorry about that noise. Valentina Shevchenko is looking to be one of. Okay, guys, I'm going to tell you a fun fact. If Valentina Shevchenko defends a belt on Sunday, she gets a new belt because in the UFC title, okay, the UFC title, there is 8 spots to put a ruby. So now they don't give you a new belt every time you make a defense like the old UFC belt. They give you a ruby and the opponent you beat at the time. There are 8 slots. If Valentina Shevchenko does this, she actually gets a new belt because she's going to have that many title defenses to actually warrant a new UFC belt. And she will be the first fighter in UFC history to do that. And I think, tip of the cap to her. She is born in Kyrgyzstan. So yes, Valentina Shevchenko, as they add an A to the Russian names if they're women actually. So it's not Shevchenko, it's actually Shevchenka. But Shevchenko, we'll just call it Shevchenko, just make it simpler. She's 23 and 3. And she's looking for, I believe, her 8th title defense. She is the UFC's only flyweight champion. She is still the only inaugural UFC champion of a weight class. She has, I'm going to tell you right here, okay? She is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, that's right. 7 title defenses. In those 7 title defenses, she won the inaugural flyweight championship by facing Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who's probably the greatest UFC strawweight champion. And they fought each other in kickboxing before, where Joanna has lost twice to her in kickboxing, back when they were both kickboxers only. So she has had 1, 2, 3, 4 finishes, 4 TKO finishes, and 3 decisions in this title run. The 3 decisions have been through, funny enough, wrestling-based fighters, because a lot of people try to expose that of her, so they kind of last a little longer because they're not as willing to strike. In one of those title defenses, she avenged her only loss to Liz Carmouche, which was by TKO, but it was by TKO by a cut, so the referee kind of stopped the fight because of a cut. So she avenged that loss. She has knocked out Caitlin Chukagian with a wonderful shot. She absolutely bludgeoned Jessica Andrade. I believe it was in crucifix position. And Lauren Murphy, that was a beautiful finish as well. But my favorite one was her first ever title defense. That was almost 4 years ago, which was the head kick I thought was heard around the world. She absolutely, if you guys can go back, whoever's watching this, if you guys can go back and just watch, what's it, UFC 238, Valentina Shevchenko taking on Jessica High. If you can just hear that, crank the volume up and hear that finish. It was the most one of the most frightening women fights I've seen via finishes. It was an absolutely crazy head kick knockout. And she's 35, damn dude. She looks fantastic, dude. Fantastic. The bullet is my pick, though Grasso is also great. You know? So she's going for her 8th title defense, and she will be, I believe, 4 away from the all-time record. She has the record, I believe, already for women's anyway. So yes. Where were we? Okay, here we go. So 23-3, as I told you, 2 decision losses to featherweight and bantamweight champion Amanda Nunes, and one TKO by cut way before the UFC. Otherwise, she's pretty much been she's flawless at flyweight, as I told you, 8-0 at flyweight, 7 title defenses. 15-3, Alexa Grasso. As you can see, Alexa Grasso loves a decision. Average fight time is 13 minutes, 40 seconds. The reason you see average fight time of Valentina Shevchenko being 17 minutes is because most of her fights have been title fights. Large majority of her fights have been title fights. So, those numbers will be higher on average. The crack was so loud, it's so eerie. I'm telling you, man, UFC 238, you guys got to go check it out. If you guys haven't watched that fight, I'll have to watch that fight. They're equal in height, equal in reach, which is a disadvantage in my personal opinion for Alexa Grasso. Alexa Grasso, as you can see there, she's not even 30 years old. She looks like a baby, quite honestly. Valentina Shevchenko, she's going to be 35 2 days after her fight, guys. 2 days after her fight, she's going to be 35 years old. As you can see, 3.19 strikes landed, 1.90 absorbed. Alexa Grasso, a lot more willing to strike using that boxing base, that Mexican style, as we like to call it, the blood and gut style, warrior style of boxing that Mexicans have been known for many, many years. 5.14 strikes per minute, 4 absorbed. She takes a shot to give a shot, guys. Striking accuracy is low. Shevchenko obviously is higher because that is her style. As you can see, striking defense, 63%, 61%. Striker absorbed, as we have discussed already. Takedowns, here we go. Here's the takedowns, guys. To prove Valentina Shevchenko is probably the most well-rounded fighter in the flyweight division, even though she has some of the most brutal knockouts you've seen in UFC flyweight division. 2.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. 0.4 for Alexa Grasso. Alexa Grasso likes to keep it standing. 64% takedown accuracy, 70% takedown defense. Less submissions attempted because she likes position over control and she likes to pound people on the ground. And that just shows there. As you can see, Alexa Grasso's, she has a loss to women's strawweight champion. That was when she was a strawweight, probably, because Alexa Grasso has moved up in weight class to reignite her career. Carla Esparza, the former 2-time UFC strawweight champion, who's an absolute demon of a wrestler, has a loss to Esparza. As you can see, flawless in her last 5 fights for Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina Shevchenko is 23 wins, 8 knockouts, 7 submissions, 8 decisions, guys. She's almost, even her record is almost perfect. She has the same amount of finishes as decisions in knockouts and submissions. She is absolutely perfect. Some say Valentina's fight from definitely from mine. WWE वाले UFC में मार खाते हमेशा जीत. Okay. क्या women's fight तो हमारे ज़माने में होता था. No, dude, Ashish, these are real fights, my friend. Public apology interview. I haven't seen it, Lavanya. Quite honestly, I'm quite indifferent to him right now. We have a very important remainder of our season, man. We can't worry about these things at the moment. We have more important things to worry about, personally speaking. Alexa Grasso is 15-3. She has a loss by submission and 2 by decision. A loss to Carla Esparza was a majority decision. Carla basically wrestled her. Tatiana Suarez, who's also a wrestler, submission rear naked choke, and Feli Sering, who's a bit of a who's more grappler oriented in MMA, even though she had a kickboxing background, lost by decision there as well. As you can see, she has a penchant for struggling with people who grapple with her, and I honestly think this week's going to be no different. I think Valentina Shevchenko is probably going to keep her distance. I think she's going to what I picture is Valentina Shevchenko is she's going to work the leg kick. She's gonna try and aim the body, aim to the legs. I think she's going to soften her up a little bit, and then I think when Alexa Grasso turns on the aggression, I think she's going to neatly just sweep Alexa Grasso off. I think she's going to probably do a head and arm throw, judo style, and I think she's going to just take her down, and then I think she's just going to try and get the ground and pound victory. I think Valentina Shevchenko is too complete for Alexa Grasso. I can only see Alexa Grasso possibly clipping Valentina Shevchenko using a crisp boxing. I cannot see any other avenue of victory at this point of time. She could shock the world, absolutely possible, and I just don't think that's possible though. I think Valentina Shevchenko is going to use her kicks. She's going to light up her legs. I think she's going to soften her legs a little bit. I think she is going to try and get the high kick knockout. I think she is going to try that left high kick. But mostly, I think when Alexa Grasso gets tired, gets wobbly, or maybe even gets aggressive, I think she's just going to sweep that leg, inside trip, outside trip. I mean, Valentina Shevchenko, very complete fighter. I just see Valentina Shevchenko finishing via ground and pound brutally, and coming back from a long hiatus for her standards. I believe it's 9 months. I'm not sure how long, but I think it's around that time. For her personal standards, a long hiatus, and I think she's just going to celebrate her 35th birthday in style. So I'm going to go, and still UFC flyweight champion Valentina Bullet Shevchenko. I'm going to say late third round, early fourth round, ground and pound finish, and still can repeat what Edwards did. She could repeat what Edwards could do, Kaushal. I just don't think Valentina Shevchenko is going to allow it, because Valentina Shevchenko is not afraid to mix up the takedowns with the striking. I think Kamaru Usman fell really in love with the striking because he's been having so much success with the Kaushal. That's the thing. Valentina Shevchenko doesn't have what I would call that kind of ego. And maybe ego is not the right word, but that kind of headstrong ability. She's willing to mix it up no matter what. And I think that is why it won't happen with her. I think if anything, she might get clipped with punches. I don't think kicks are going to happen. I think she's going to catch the kick and then just take her down. But I would see maybe getting clipped with like a right hook, one that she might not see. But she's not afraid to mix it up. And Kamaru Usman fell in love with his hands, his feet, and he just kind of wrestled less and less as he got more crisper with striking. And as you know, Valentina Shevchenko, 7-time world champion, I believe it's 7-time at least. And I just told you, 8 knockouts, 7 submissions, 8 decisions. Bro, she is more than happy to take you down. Doesn't matter how good her kickboxing is. And that's where I think she won't be like Kamaru Usman. That is why I think it can't happen. I'm talking like a. Okay, is Nunes in 277? No, dude. Well, it's 285. Yeah, no. Nunes was in. You mean 285? What's 277, Arnab? The Grasso said, "I'm a better athlete." We're gonna see, dude. We're gonna see. A lot of people try to play mind games with Valentina. That's another thing. She has a steel trap mind, dude. Valentina Shevchenko, late third round, early fourth round, ground TKO on ground and pound. That's what I go. And now we have the final, guys. Ooh-wee. Okay. We have the final match. We have the return of Boney, John Bones Jones, the youngest ever UFC champion, He won his first UFC championship at 24 years old, almost 11 years ago, I believe, around 11 years ago. He's taking on French ace Cyril Bongaman Gane, and he is the former UFC heavyweight interim champion and France's first UFC champion of any sorts. And this is, John Jones is coming from a 3-year hiatus. Majority of that has been embroiled in legal issues one way or the other, and also in tandem with the fact that he wanted to move up a weight class. As you can see, there is 26-1 and one no contest. One shouldn't be on his record for sure. That is DQ loss to Matt Hamill for downward elbows. As you can see, Cyril Gane 11-1, one being obviously the very, very supremely close decision loss to Francis Ngannou, who has now vacated the heavyweight championship and moved on to free agency. And I guess here's the question, guys. Here's the question you should be asking yourself. Lavanya, Kaushal, Arnab, whoever's here, whoever watches UFC, this is the question you should ask yourself. After 3 years and moving up a weight class and putting on, apparently he's going to be around 250 pounds. Let's say he entered the cage when he was a light heavyweight about 230 pounds. He's going to be walking around 50 pounds heavier on average. He's taking on a very nimble-footed Cyril Gane, who's known for his movement, who's known for his slick stand-up style. He's taking on Cyril Gane after 3 years of not fighting at all and having his personal issues, moving up a weight class. And this is what I think. My thinking is, what Jones are we going to expect? What Jones can you expect? This is a very interesting question personally for me, because I don't know what to expect. Is the additional weight, and it's a lot of additional weight. It's not like he's up 20 pounds like welterweight to light heavyweight or welterweight to middleweight or middleweight to light heavyweight. It's 40-45 pounds, man. 40-45 pounds we're talking about. He's moving up. And I will tell you, I am a little, I do genuinely wonder what John Jones are we going to get, because at the end of the day, the GOAT or not, time comes for everybody, guys. Doesn't matter. Time comes for everybody. That doesn't change. So I'm just here. I'm just having a look at things here, which is I'm just looking at John Jones's record. He has been on a bit of a downslide as of late. He has not been as dominant in his last 3 fights. He has gone to, I believe, 3 decision wins. His last 3 fights have all been decision. One's been even a split. He has, as he's gotten older, he has not been as dominating, and people have been wondering why. Is that a case of he is slowing down and the rest of the division is catching up? Another line of thought is maybe he's not as excited to get up for the fights anymore. That's why he has even moved up a weight class for fresh division, fresh start. Even though at the time he was kind of slowing down in his skills, he was still beating a lot of them comfortably, but just not as dominant. And a lot of people were saying lack of motivation, which is kind of dangerous, because in MMA, if you have a lack of motivation, you're going to get knocked out. Simple as. If there is no two ways about it, you're gonna go to sleep. Main card is no brainer for me. I'm rooting for Jones because the first fight I watched, it was same versus Augustus and UFC 165, the first one. My God, that was a long time ago. UFC is one of format जिसमें सारे fights format होते. Yep. Yes, 26-1 is impressive. It's absolutely impressive. It should be 26. It should be 27-0 and 1 no contest, but it's not. Anyway, as I was saying, what can we expect? What can you expect? We saw this with Mary Kom in Olympics, remember? Yes, time comes for everybody came for Walter White soil. Yes. People do not understand that joke. That's because John Jones moved from his native New York a long time ago, and he's moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is obviously where Breaking Bad is filmed. That's why the Walter White reference. He fights out of the esteemed Jackson Winklejohn gym. Even though he has a falling out with Mike Winklejohn, he still has his head coach of Greg Jackson and esteemed striking coach Brandon Six Gun Gibson. It's a very famous striking coach in MMA. So those are still two of his main head coaches that he still has, despite not necessarily training out of Winklejohn anymore. I think he's moved to another gym or his own private facility where he just trains for himself now. He has a new strength and conditioning coach to help him bulk up even to the heavyweight division as well. Very well reputed, but I forgot his name. So he's been doing the work to move up to heavyweight, and I'm very curious to see where his mindset is, man. I was watching the pre-fight press conference today. He seems very confident. He seems very calm, and he looks like he is. I believe he in his training camp he had three heavyweights, UFC heavyweights: Walt Harris, uh, Maurice Green, and I think there was one more heavyweight that I'm forgetting right now. I'm drawing a blank. But they all fought in the UFC. He used to train with heavyweights all the time. He had people like Andrei Arlovsky in his camp back in the day, Alistair Overeem, Travis Brown. These are former heavyweights, which used to be his regular training partners back in the day when he was a light heavyweight. So he's very explosive that way. When was John Jones' last fight? Lavanya, it has been 3 years, like I said. February 8th, 2020. It's been 3 years and a month, almost to the day. 3 years and a month. It's taken 2 years off again. Uh, yeah, he took 2 years off in his Daniel Cormier, I believe his second Daniel Cormier. No, yeah, I think he missed 2 years somewhere else, and I can't remember where though. He missed 1 year between Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes as well. So it's been 3 years and a month, Lavanya. So as I was saying, guys, don't know what to expect. What we can expect is someone who's had a record of 26 one and one no contest. He has 10 knockouts, 10 submissions. 10 knockouts, 10 decisions, and 6 submissions. Also fairly well rounded. Former JUCO national wrestling champion. I believe in forgot where it was. Iowa Central Community College. I believe it was. Don't quote me on that. Believe that was the college though. I believe it was the same college Colby Covington also wrestled at a long time ago. So what is his style? His style is he uses his length like nobody else can, guys. He uses the oblique kick to the shin and to the knee to keep your distance away from him, which is a very debilitating shot. That oblique kick to the knee, it can tear ligaments. It's a very dangerous kick, especially if you're very heavy on the front foot. So it's very important to be light, have a light front foot, because that kick will come for sure. And now John Jones at 250 pounds is obviously going to hit a lot harder than he did at 205 pounds. He uses his wrestling. He likes to back you against the cage, use his length, wrap you up, ragdoll you if he has the leverage. But mostly what he likes to do is he likes to be very creative with the striking, high front kicks, uh, really high. He has this lovely jab. He's not necessarily the biggest power puncher, especially back in the day, but his kicks are very lethal. He likes to go for your legs a lot. He likes rubbing you against the cage, wearing you down, trying to get a trip. He's not necessarily the biggest double leg takedown guy, but he likes to trip you and take you off your feet. And and yes, these are the things you can expect from him because he is a very well-rounded fighter. Now we look towards his opponent, Cyril Gane, who is 11 and 1, one decision loss, never been finished. 5 knockouts, 3 submissions, 3 decision. Also very well-rounded fighter. He had a kickboxing background first, and then he of course fights out with Fernand Lopez, who used to be Francis Ngannou's head coach. And believe Nasruddin Imamov is also his his teammate. The gym's called MMA Factory, and it's in Paris, France. He was a Muay Thai fighter from 2014 to 2018, and then he's only been 5 years, guys, 5 years in MMA, and he's already won an interim championship. In professional Muay Thai, he was 13 and 0 with 90 KOs and 4 decisions. 13 and 0 as a professional Muay Thai fighter. He is a very, very credentialed striker. He's very light on his feet. He's very elusive. I mean, I'm looking at his finishes here. He has a finish of Dontail Mays with a heel hook, guys. He has a heel hook submission in the UFC. He's the Muay Thai fighter who has a heel hook submission in the UFC. Okay. You can't sleep on his ability. He's 7-1 in the UFC. His only loss was the unification of the heavyweight championship, even though they won a performance of the night there. Uh, Sorry, he didn't win a performance tonight. He won the performance of the night for the interim championship. And for the UFC championship, of course, it was a close fight against Francis Ngannou. That is his only loss to date. He's very light on his feet. He loves mixing up his strikes. He's a very complete fighter. He definitely does not have the wrestling levels of John Jones. I'm not going to pretend like he does. That would be foolish. As you can see, 4.3 strikes per minute to 511, 59% striking accuracy. He loves his striking. He's much more comfortable on the feet, as you can tell. Yeah, 2.2 to 2.25, same amount of strikes absorbed. Same striking defense. As you can see, they have very similar stats here. John Jones, obviously, almost 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. Takedown accuracy 44%. As you can see, Cyril Gane is not very good with his wrestling. A lot of that is saying a lot of that is because he normally fights strikers or people who prefer to stand, even though they can wrestle or they can grapple. And Francis Ngannou definitely exposed that. Obviously, I think we can all agree. Francis Ngannou, 3 rounds, he took him down in all 3 rounds. I think the last 3 rounds he was up 2-0 in that heavyweight fight. John Jones, you can't let that. You can't. I hope he's really drilled his grappling, because if he lets John Jones take him down every round, John Jones might actually even finish him, because he has much better ground game than Francis Ngannou. I would think so. Not just because his base was wrestling, but in general, he did have a penchant for many submissions. He submitted Lyoto Machida, he submitted Ryan Bader, he submitted, I believe he submitted Quentin Rampage Jackson as well. He definitely can submit people. And as you can see, his takedown defense is 95%. I don't think he's going to have to worry about that from Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane this is not the best takedown accuracy you want to see when you're facing John Jones at 55%. You can see he has a little better average of submission attempts. He's of course, he's fought a lot less in the UFC, so that's understandable as well. As you can see here, 4 wins and a no contest in his last 5 fights. And as you can see there, there's 4 wins and a loss to Ngannou in his last 5 fights. These people have a lot of momentum behind them. Cyril Gane is in between a no-win situation in many ways. I do think there is a problem here. I think Cyril Gane is pretty much up against it right now. He's going to have 2 title fights in 3 fights. Being in the heaviest division doesn't give you a lot of leeway. If he loses dominantly to John Jones, you're not really sure where Cyril Gane goes from here. John Jones, however, doesn't really have much to lose if you think about it, because this is, after all, an experiment in a weight class that is not his own. And anything can happen, quite honestly. I think Cyril Gane has nothing to lose in many ways, because I don't think he's been given. I don't think a lot of people think he's going to win anyway, even though he's a very good fighter. I think the fight's going to be pretty close. I am curious to see what John Jones we get. If we get the same John Jones that went to decision in his last 3 fights, there's going to be a problem, because Cyril Gane will maintain his distance, will use his striking, and even though John Jones, as you can see, has the higher reach. I'll just show you the reach there. 3 inches reach advantage. John Jones has the longest reach in the UFC. Cyril Gane has just 3 inches lower, though. He's normally fought people who've had 7, 8, 9 inches disadvantage to John Jones. And Cyril Gane obviously is not one of those people. And as you can see, Cyril Gane is also younger than him. So quite frankly, I think Cyril Gane has nothing to lose in many ways, just because a lot of people are giving this to John Jones. But I think deep in the back of his mind, if he loses 2 out of his 3 fights, both of them being for the championship, it's going to create a real conundrum for him professionally because he'll have nowhere to go since he's a heavyweight. I think he's going to try and I think the only way Cyril Gane can really win this fight is if he catches John Jones, because we don't know how hard John Jones can take a punch from a heavyweight. That's one thing we don't know about John Jones at the moment. Yes, he's trained with heavyweights, but it's not the same thing. We don't know how many punches he can take from a heavyweight of the caliber of Cyril Gane. So that I'm very curious to find out. And I think John Jones has to just come here with an open mind and use his tools to the best of his abilities. I think he needs to make the most of his skill set, and he has to let ego to the side, because if he comes here underestimating Cyril Gane because he said things like Cyril Gane's an incomplete fighter and looking to expose his holes and all, he shouldn't get too complacent. Cyril Gane might have really drilled his wrestling in the last 2-3 camps, and you don't know how much he can improve. Because the one thing I've noticed about Cyril Gane is he's always improving because he's a super young fighter in terms of MMA. So there's a lot more tools to the tool belt, that he can add. And I think that's exactly what Cyril Gane we should expect. We should expect the best version of Cyril Gane, if you're John Jones in particular. And I think that's what you should expect. And I think that's what John Jones will expect, vice versa. However, in terms of, and I will finish up here, guys, in terms of who I think is going to win this fight, this is what I think is going to happen. I think John Jones is going to light up his knees in particular. He's going to use that oblique kick like he used to back in the day. He's going to try spinning attacks. He's going to try spinning back fists. He's going to try and keep him behind his jab as much as possible. He's going to circle. He's going to gauge an actual heavyweight fight. This will be his first one after all. And I think he's going to maintain the distance. I think it's going to force Cyril Gane, frustrate Cyril Gane to be more active. And I think that's where John Jones is going to take him down. He's going to wear him out, wear him out, wear him out. Now, if John Jones's top control pressure was really good at 205, with all this extra weight, I don't know if he'll be as agile as he was at 205. But with all this extra weight, he might be more hip heavy, which means it'll be even more difficult for Cyril Gane to butt scoot out, get into guard, kip up, get up. It'll be very difficult for him. And I foresee that's what's going to happen. I think Cyril Gane gets subdued by the pressure of his hips. I think Cyril Gane puts up a good first couple of rounds, but I think he succumbs eventually late into the fight. I'm going to say John Jones, third round submission. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. There we go, guys. I haven't picked any fight to go to the decision because I don't want them to go to the decisions, really. I want them to be fun. I will say one thing. Fight most likely to go to a decision, Gamrot versus Jalen Turner, with Gamrot winning by decision. I think that's the most likely one to go by decision. I don't quote me on that. All of them might go to the decision, but that's what I think will be the one that goes to the decision most likely. There you have it, guys. I have made my picks for UFC 285. I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. I appreciate it very much. Kaushal, thank you for joining. I don't know if you joined before, but thank you for joining. If you're still here, hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you got some kind of insight or you've taken something away from this. Lavanya, thank you for joining. Arnab, Vaibhav, who's your through shares alone with accounting to an exclusive person, fortune close to one. Okay. Interesting. Jones for the win, Arnab is saying. Okay. John Jones will start explosively, Lavanya saying, all right. We got an idea of what everyone thinks is going to happen. I just want to say, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Lavanya. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you everyone for joining. Do like, share, and subscribe. We are on the road to 500, and just looking forward to hitting each milestone slowly and surely. Sorry, I was caught up with a few things. Absolutely no problem, Lavanya. Absolutely no problem. Might do another preview tomorrow with a guest because the guest couldn't make it today. So I will just tell him what I picked, but I'll let him talk. So might do another preview after the watch alongs. I am doing back-to-back watch alongs, so I'm not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to do the 6 o'clock and the 8:30 watch along tomorrow. So let's see what happens. Yes, like, share, and subs 500 soon indeed. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you tomorrow for, let me tell you, I'll tell you, since you guys are here, I will tell you what we got. We got, what is it? What is it? What is it? We got Manchester City versus Newcastle will be the first one I'm doing, guys. And I'm doing Arsenal versus Bournemouth. Feel free to join me. Those are the ones I'm doing tomorrow. Sunday, I'm doing Liverpool versus Man United. That's the one I'm doing. I'm doing 3 watch alongs today. Do feel free to join in. And I will see you tomorrow, guys. Not too long from tonight. I'll see you in a couple of hours. Take care. Good night, guys. See you later.